Thank you, Gigi, David. A question for you all. How many of you love public speaking? Hands in the sky. Love to make speeches in public. How many of you love making speeches in public? Okay, so we have a few hands here. Now there's good news and bad news. The good news is that all those of you who had your hands down, you're all quite normal. All those with the hands in the sky, we're not quite normal. And I put my hands in the sky as well. I love public speaking. I've been a public speaker for about 31 years, which means I go out, take part in contests, I train people. I really do like public speaking, but I'm quite odd. But my hope today is I'm going to change you a little bit, to make you a little bit odd as well, and to make you enthusiastic about speaking. And the speaking we're going to talk about today is the speaking when you're at your club, and the speaking if you're asked to give presentations elsewhere, and the speaking maybe when you're asked questions by the media. So let's see what we have for you today. Why are you here? What's in it for you? Well, first of all, we're going to look at ways to reduce your nerves if you're slightly nervous when you come up to speak. We're going to look at impromptu speaking, how to make a speech with no notice at all. That happens all the time. We're going to look at the basics of making a speech, your delivery as well. And delivery is one of the most important parts about any speech. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. And we'll look at those methods. And basically, at the end, we'll look at the board meetings. And we'll see how some tricks we can use to make those really, really exciting. Let's go straight into it. First of all, strategies for making you a little less nervous when you're speaking. The knocking knees. So for those of you, if you're on stage and your knees are like this and they're knocking, it means you're very nervous. And we want to avoid that. We want to avoid any signs of you looking nervous, sounding nervous, or being at all nervous. So I have 8 simple strategies for you. The notes will be given to you later, so you can listen now and you can read the notes later. Rule number 1 is to know your speech. It's a very, very basic thing, but if you practice and practice and practice, you will know your speech so well that you will not feel nervous. But more importantly, know that the audience does not know your speech. So if you've rehearsed your speech and then suddenly you forget line 8, you know what's going on, and you go blind, you go boom, you forget everything. Your audience doesn't know what line 8 is. So if you carry on talking, it doesn't matter to them. So remember, the audience does not know what you're going to say next. So you can always carry on to the next point, and that will make you feel a lot less nervous. You also need to know who your audience is. Today I have an audience I know of distinguished to be presidents of Rotary. I know that we males as females, as Chinese, as Western. So I know my audience. I'm not surprised. For your own club, you will know your audience very well. If you go outside that club, maybe a slightly different audience. The reason you need to know is because you need to target your message to that audience. Know the room. And for that, again, you'll know it at your own Rotary club, you know the size of your room. But if you're coming to a meeting that's a huge room, and you weren't prepared for it, that will affect the way you'll deliver. You may need to shout more, you need to be more interactive with the audience. Be organised so you know how to do everything. You know where your speech are, you know where your visual aids are, you know how to use a PowerPoint. And finally, practice. I practice for a presentation in front of the mirror at home. I find that the best. I would also recommend, if you're brave enough, I would recommend that you do use your phone or whatever video device you have and film yourself, or have someone film you. It's horrible seeing yourself in colour on a camera. How many people have done that? Anyone filmed themselves, seen themselves on television or on video? Good. And how was it, madam? Was it beautiful? You look very beautiful, so you're okay. But for us, it don't look beautiful. But when you see yourself on video, you think, oh my God, am I really like that? And yes, you are. That once you know what you like and how you come across, you can change your style to be more accepted by the audience. It's okay, you all look quite good at the moment, no complaints there. Number 2 is to visualise the outcome. So as well as visualising how wonderful a president you're going to be, you need to visualise your audience being happy and enjoying your presentation. In detail, imagine them So for today, I imagine that after the end of my presentation, you're all going to throw me $100 notes. You'll be so happy with my presentation, you'll say, Brian, that was fantastic, and throw me money. Okay, maybe you won't throw me money, but at least you'll be entertained, hopefully, and you'll feel happy. If I think in my mind at the end of my presentation that you're all going to be sitting there bored and not happy and falling asleep, it may happen. So I have positive views in my mind beforehand of what my audience is going to do. It really does work. Rule number 4 is to focus on the message. Think about your message. What is it at the end of the presentation people will go away with? What will they remember? And that's one of the most important keys to any presentation. Connect with the audience. Look at the eyes of the audience. Because believe it or not, your audience is not sitting there thinking, I hope Brian gives a really awful presentation. I hope he really bores me. Your audience does not think that. Your audience is on your side. So connect with the audience by looking at them, and you'll get more and more confident. You won't feel nervous. If you've given a bad presentation in the past, that was the past. Now is now. The future will be even better. But don't dwell on past presentations, or you will be nervous. Look your best. So for guys, it's very easy to look your best. If you've got your tie, make sure your tie is good, make sure your pockets are nice, not bulging pockets. The ladies, it's just a matter of, if you've got jewellery on, make sure you're not going to flash it so it blinds somebody with a reflection. One of the key things for guys, and this did happen as a story, it wasn't a Rotarian, about 3 years ago I remember, a gentleman got onto the stage, he gave his presentation, he was all prepared, thinking he looked his best. Unfortunately, his fly was down. Which was great for the guys in the front who were looking, and they spread the word around. So by the end of the presentation, everybody at the back was smiling, was laughing, and he didn't realise. Ladies and gentlemen, especially late gentlemen, do make sure that essential is up and not down. You'll be remembered for the wrong reason. Deep breaths. A simple trick. If you're feeling nervous, just before you come up to speak, and you're sitting down there, 5 deep breaths. It gets more air into your lungs, helps you to project your voice more, gives you more energy as well. Not too many. You do 10, you're going to faint and fall down. You don't want that. But just enough to get the air into the body. And rule number 8, you're not going to be the best speaker all the time. You will not be. It's not possible. You don't have to be. So as long as you're giving your best, you probably will feel your best and feel less nervous. So there's a few tips on nerves. Let's now look at impromptu speaking. Impromptu speaking will be any time when you're suddenly asked to give a vote of thanks, or any time when you have to introduce somebody, or any time you're asked a question by the media or anybody else. You have no preparation time. So what can we do? What we can do is to prepare in advance a strategy. So if you have in your mind already a strategy to answer a question whenever you're asked it, then that will help you. So there's various strategies to use. You can always give an opinion. And I suggest you don't always give your opinion in the first sentence. Because if you say, yes, I believe in nuclear power, and then as you're talking you think, no, actually I don't believe in nuclear power, it's difficult for you to change. So when you begin an opinion type of answer, you may give, on the one side is this answer, other people believe this, and I believe this. But deliver your I opinion towards the end so your mind formulates your real answer. You can always address cause and effect for a subject. You can break the topic into components. Or the best way to answer any impromptu question, I use this a lot, is to talk about the past, the present, and the future. If you were talking about Rotary, your own Rotary club in the past, you could say, well, in the past, it was a small club, we were quite small, we were trying to grow, we had no females in our club. Now we're pleased to say we've grown a bit, we have females, we have female presidents, we're getting bigger and bigger. But in the future, we're going to be a huge club. So apply that past, present, future to any topic you're ever given. It will give you the time then to think of the structure, it'll make the answer seem more logical and more easy to be received by your audience. So I would suggest using a structure like past, present and future. So when you're given an impromptu question, first of all listen carefully to what the question is. Many of us do not hear the question properly. We then need to pause. You don't have to answer immediately. Let the brain think a little while. Then you confirm, so you repeat the question as well. Sometimes it's very basic, but sometimes we forget. But by confirming the question, it means the audience knows you've heard the question. It also means that you've had time to think a bit more about the question. It clarifies it in the audience's mind. Then tell. So we have this adage that you tell people what you're going to tell them, then you tell them what you told them. Very simple. Just 3 steps to answering any question. Tell them what you're going to tell them, and tell them what you told them. And finally, know end to end. So how do you know that your audience wants you to finish? What are the signs? So, Martin, how can you tell that your audience is ready for you to finish? What's the sign?
When they walk away.
When they walk away, that's one. So if they start walking away, anyone walks away today, I know you want me to finish early. Any other signs, anybody? Sir, what do you say? How can you tell that your audience is bored with you?
It starts to snore.
Yes! So we hear a snoring in the back somewhere, you know you're not doing quite well. You need to change something. Sir, you had your hands up, how would you say?
Well, I just ready for leave and then take some photo.
That's a good, yes. If they're taking photographs, that could be a sign, but hopefully not. Another sign is if they have their iPhone and they start texting away there when you're making your presentation. I had that happen to me recently, and I stopped the guy who's in the 3rd row and I said, "Sir, what are you doing?" And he said, "I'm taking notes." Oh, very clever. All right, yes, I'll let you off on that one. Well, the things you can do, if your audience looks a bit quite tired and they're nodding away, you can hear the snoring. One technique is to suddenly raise your voice a bit louder to get their attention, and they look up. Another thing you can do is just to pause. So you're speaking